Alrighty, here we go. Another fresh RR show getting served up to you right here by me, Vince. We've got two stories from Tales, the front desk, and tech support, and then a subreddit that I'm becoming more fond of. Boomers being fools. And of course, the ever delightful r/IDontWorkHereLady. But first, we're going to start with this one. Posted on r/TalesFromTheFrontDesk from M. Brannigan. I cannot comprehend this level of entitlement. I'm at the desk when I get a phone call from someone saying they left a bag in their room. I apologize and tell them housekeeping hadn't turned anything in from that room. He asks if I can go in and check that room, and I inform him that someone has checked into that room and I can't access it. He says okay. 20 minutes later, two men came to the desk and informed me that they've left a bag in their room when they checked out and they needed to get it. We had basically the same conversation as above, but now he tells me he had parked next to the room just now and the door is ajar. I say, okay, the person occupying the room has left their door ajar. I reiterate that I cannot go into that room because someone has checked into it. They ask for me to check the camera to see if the bag was with them when they left. I agreed. Fortunately, there is a camera right outside that room. We found the guy leaving and he had several bags, but he stated that none were the missing bag. They looked at me expectantly as if the security video should mean something to me. I informed them again that the bag was not at the desk. Housekeeping never turned one in. He asked what could have happened to it. I explained that it was possible that housekeeping had forgotten to turn it in, but not likely as the room is located very close to the desk, and if they had found something of the size that he had demonstrated with his hands, they would have certainly just brought it directly here. They asked to speak with the housekeepers, and I told them that they had gone for the day and they don't speak English anyway. He asked me to call them, and again I informed him that they were not at work and they'd be back tomorrow. He asked if he could get the number, and I directed him to one of our business cards. They left and I thought they were done. I watched them on camera go past the room. They stopped and looked around suspiciously, but then returned to their car. A moment later, the phone rang, and I recognized the voice asking to speak to housekeeping. I explained that housekeeping would not be back until tomorrow. Again, I thought we were done until another moment later when I glanced at the camera and saw them outside the room again, looking around exactly the way one does when checking to see if they were being watched. Quite stupid considering they just had seen me demonstrate that there's literally a camera right above them. I didn't stick around to watch them be stupid on camera. I jumped up and hurried towards the back door to try to chase them off before they could just walk into someone else's room. By the time I got there, they were rushing away from the room with one pulling it almost closed behind him. I never actually saw them in the room, nor did I check the room before pulling the door shut to prevent their poor decision making to lead them down any dumber paths. Like, fellas, you're in North Carolina. You do not just walk into someone's room. You might get shot. Once they were gone, I shot the head housekeeper a text asking if the girls had found anything in that room. That was about an hour ago, no response. But she's not at work right now, so she doesn't have to respond. I found when it was being cleaned on the camera to watch and see if anything other than the garbage had left the room. I did see what looked like a paper shopping bag, like the tote style ones, but it looked to be full of garbage. At that point, it occurred to me that they never actually described what the bag looked like or what they meant by bag. Bag is an extremely broad category. I hope this particular bag was not the one they were looking for because it wound up in the trash. And Monday is trash day and the garbage truck was here hours ago. It was one of the first rooms to be cleaned today, so two housekeepers were actually working on it while one waited for rooms on her list to be checked out. Both have been with us for at least 5 days. They are experienced housekeepers, and I can't imagine them missing a bag, and I definitely can't imagine them stealing one. They regularly turn in keys, phones, earbuds, wallets, bags, clothes, etc. About the only thing they don't bring up is food and drink. I hope that wasn't the bag they were looking for, but I'm also struggling to feel bad for dudes who thought it was perfectly okay to just open someone's door because it was ajar. From r/Tales from Tech Support, posted by user Scorpius187. When the simplest solution is staring you in the face for 8 years, and nobody thought to try it. So, story time. I'm the IT director / help desk tech / lead developer / network engineer for a small marketing firm. In reality, my title is IT director, simply because it's easier to command the attention of vendors and such if you have a fancy-sounding title. I'm in charge of literally the entire department, as my promotion to IT director came with us laying off the rest of the department with the month of my getting promoted. I started with 2 developers and a Linux server admin under me. I've been the IT director here for 6 years, and while the majority of my time has been run-of-the-mill standard day-to-day duties, every once in a while, I end up with a TFTS-worthy story to tell. Today is another one of those days. Here at work, we've got this software we wrote, a web-based referral program for banks. Person A goes in, refers person B. When person B opens a new account, both of them get a reward. Simple concept. Now, I had literally nothing to do with writing this particular piece of software. At the time when it was being written, I was working as a developer on another project. One of our banks has a lot of senior citizen customers who don't have email addresses. So they tend to give those people account credit instead of using our reward portal. Since they don't have email addresses, our software makes one up for them using their customer information number, a thing the bank creates, and a fake email domain that combines the customer ID of our client and the name of the application separated by an underscore. It ends up looking like xxx1234@tx123_YYY.com. This simply is so the software works as intended because everything is tracked by an email address. But those fake emails are just an arbitrary thing we came up with. This is important for later in the story. Unfortunately, the bog standard email validation code that is built into MVC rejects underscores and email addresses. So our old developer team and marketing team came together and formulated a genius solution of turning off email validation entirely. You can guess what kind of messes that has led to. Keep in mind, this is a system that is driven by email addresses. Everything is linked to the email addresses of the referring person and the referred person. At one point, I was spending a full 25% of my day just fixing invalid email addresses in the system. This has been going on for over 8 years. And since I took over as IT director, I've been asking to get clearance to fix the problem. But management wasn't having it because they were too scared it would negatively impact business, as if wasting our time fixing all the errors wasn't, but I digress. Fast forward to now. At the beginning of this month, we onboarded a new bank, and it's been a nightmare. They're one of the biggest clients we've ever had, and the amount of invalid data they've been putting into the system is triple what we were dealing with before. One customer service manager basically threw up her hands and told the CEO she'd quit if this didn't get fixed because she couldn't get anything else done. She was literally spending her entire day dealing with customer issues from this one client. So after dealing with years of waiting, I've finally been tasked to solve this conundrum. Today was the first chance I'd ever really have to look at this part of the application before. But once I found the code and realized what was happening, it literally took me 30 seconds to figure out what multiple people couldn't seem to figure out nearly 10 years ago when this was all written. I changed the code that creates the fake email domain to use a hyphen instead of an underscore. Now the email validation works and the fake domains don't fail the validation check anymore. From r/boomers being fools. Posted by user forever-roach. Not understanding how things work. Rude. I've been coming here for 15 years. Short backstory. I'm waiting in the drive-thru line at Walgreens. It was a long line and I finally got to the front. Gave my info and was waiting for them to come back with my meds. I know one of them will require my ID or driver's license. Boomer behind me gets out of his car and walks up to the window. I always try to get as close as I can to make it easy to reach over, so he's right next to my car. He first tries shouting to the staff through the glass about whether he needs his ID to get his meds, but no one is there at the moment, let alone on the phone. He pushes the call button and is waiting for an answer. He hadn't and doesn't later acknowledge me at all. No excuse or apology, and he's making these weird guttural sounds while he's waiting. Normally, I like to try and be helpful and wanted to say you might depending on the meds, but he was giving me weird vibes, and I didn't want to try explaining these things to this weirdo. Especially since it could be about a med I didn't know anything about, which would make the effort pointless. So I roll my window almost all the way up, leaving just a crack so I can hear what's going on when the person comes back with my meds. Someone answers after a minute, but didn't come up to the window so you couldn't see them. Boomer is still shouting. You know, the phone's on speaker, they're holding it up to their face, and they're still talking very loudly as if you can't hear them otherwise type of shouting energy. He's asking if he needs his ID because he forgot his driver's license. I mentioned we're in a drive-thru, right? Guy who answered the phone didn't really answer the boomer, and the lady who went on to get my meds came back and she tells him, yes, you need an ID, and he gets a little belligerent saying, so the 15 years I've been coming here means nothing? This is a waste of my time. And he goes back to his car. The guy honks as if I can or will move my car before I can even get my meds. Maybe it was just an angry honk because he only did it once, so he's stuck behind me for the moment, LOL. The lady said, wait, I thought he was with you, LMAO, so she answered him as if he was there for my meds, which do require an ID. I kindly let her know that he's not and I have my ID ready. All he had to do was wait a little longer and get an accurate answer since he was next, and already waited a while. Also, after 15 years, you can't remember to bring your ID just in case and forget your driver's license, which you should have when you're driving? This man could be the representative of the me generation. Posted on r/IDontWorkHereLady from user CWU007. You think we can afford her? A recent event triggered this old memory. It's more of a she doesn't work here. This happened many years ago. Think a year or two after the 2008 recession started. Setting is in a retail drugstore chain, one that's open 24 hours a day. Despite being a big business, we're still feeling the effects of the recession. Everyone still has a job, but the hours are being cut. I'm a shift supervisor working the closing 2 to 11 p.m. shift. The overnight supervisor and cashier have arrived. I'm in the office talking to the overnight supervisor when I get a call for a manager needed up front, and I leave the office to handle the situation. For context, I'm female. So is the overnight supervisor. Both cashiers are male. Once I get up front, both cashiers are ringing customers up and tell me the complaining customer left. I notice there's a line and decide to help. As I'm ringing up a customer, let's call her Jane, a middle-aged man, let's call him John, walks in and angrily tells me he needs to talk to me. I tell him no problem, let me finish with my customer, and John starts anyway. John, your employee said she's going to call the police on me for having a disability placard, but I don't look disabled. John has an accent and on the surface doesn't look disabled. Me. Which one? Pointing at my two cashiers. John. She's a woman. She said it's her job to manage disabled parking. Jane begins to giggle at this point. Me. Whoever she was, she doesn't work for us. John. She said she works for you. Me. Sir, there are only 2 females on duty at this moment. One of them being me. The other I was talking to in the office when you asked for a manager. If you'd like, I can call her out to the front and you can see if it was her. Now, the shopping center does have security guards. However, last I checked, they're all male. John: I want to file a complaint about her and get her fired. Jane decides to chime in. Sir, we're in the middle of a recession. People are losing their jobs and getting their hours cut. You really think this store has a lot of money lying around for that meaningless position? The gears in John's head finally start to turn. John: She doesn't work for you? Me: No, she doesn't. John: Can I kick her ass? Me: I have no say in it. John: I'm gonna go kick her ass. Me, waving goodbye. Enjoy! I finished ringing up Jane, who's still trying to hold back giggles. Jane: For a moment, I thought, wow, you guys must be making a boatload of money to hire somebody for that small job. About 15 minutes later, I clock out and head to my car. John's driving his car and rolls his windows down. John: She's still driving around here. I'll kick her ass. I wave bye. I don't know if John ever got a chance to kick her ass that night. We really appreciate you being with us on today's show. The RR Show is a production of Evergreen Podcast and Wessler Media. Now, if you'd be so kind, follow or subscribe to the show if you haven't already. And if you also haven't done already, please leave us a very nice 5-star review. Thanks, Mom. Also, for more, you can visit rrshow.com. That's rrshow.com. I'm your host, Vince. My producer, Kevin, thank you. We'll see you next time.